Say what? Say what radio show. With no agenda. It's always a surprise. But if we're not having fun, we're doing something wrong. Saturdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 5 Pacific. On Haggy Shack Radio at haggyshack.com. Say what?
Hi, everybody. This is Nancy Hopkins. You're listening to Say What, which is being simulcast from Haggy Shack Radio to Wolf Spirit Radio. It's being produced by Colleen, also our co-host. But she seems, somehow or another, we can't hear her. I don't know if the audience is hearing her or not. Anyway, right now she's not talking. So, it is July 23rd, and we have our fourth Saturday's guest co-host, which is Christia Cummings Slack. And I did get that right now, did I, Christia?
You do?
And we've got Dolly, Howard, and Walt Silva, who were on a show together that was delightful. And they're going to hang out with us for a little bit here. How's
hear me now?
Everybody out there's hearing Colleen. We're not hearing her.
Okay.
Are you not hearing me now?
Interesting.
You're still not hearing me?
I don't know what that is going to do. Maybe it'll settle out. I don't know. But anyway, Christia, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So it's always so good. And Dolly, she just, she talks about you all the time because you were one of those people that made such a massive impact in her life when you talked about the angels. And so she just loves to be here. We love to have her, so she's here with us tonight. And Dolly, that was a really good show you had with that strange man.
Oh, I just love when he comes on the show. I like strange men, I guess.
Walt, how are you doing? You did fine there. You do me proud, being that you're my co-host.
Oh. Well, the thing was to keep Dolly from falling asleep, so that's what I tried.
Well, you kept her chuckling. That's important.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, when you were talking about the telemarketers, it made me remember a situation that happened with my mother. One of her grandchildren, Michael, had a job doing telemarketing, and he one day called his grandmother, only he didn't realize it was his grandmother. She recognized his voice, and she said, "I'm telling you, it was him." And I said, "Well, did you say something to him?" She said, "No, I didn't want to embarrass him, I said, "Did you buy anything from him?" She said, "No."
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you are.
Yes.
Okay.
You closed your closet door.
Yeah, that's it.
And soundproofed it.
Sorry, go ahead, Nancy.
No, I just wanted to relate that it's a terror. Hey, anybody who's not doing exactly what they were born to do, is not happy, and I don't think anybody was born to be a telemarketer. So, how could you even possibly begin to get happy that way? What I suggest, though, maybe to make a difference in people's lives, and I'm going to do this because I'm like you, Walt. All of a sudden, I got all these calls happening. The next time I get them, instead of saying no, or, whatever, I'm going to start saying the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
So you're going to exercise them? Wow.
Well, no, because, this happened. Somebody told me that somebody was attacking them, verbally, and they didn't know what to do because they didn't even know how to respond, so they just started saying the Our Father. And I had the same situation where somebody was attacking me, and it was nuts, and so I just said the Our Father. And I was working in the condominium at the time, and it was one of the people that owned an apartment there. And that woman went down to the manager and told them that I was very dangerous because, once they start praying, the next thing they do is they grab a knife and stab people.
Wow.
Okay. So I hear this thing from the manager, and we all just laughed, And not 2-3 days after that, I'm going up on the elevator, and the elevator door opens up, and who is it but this woman? And I got on the elevator and rode, 14 floors or something with her, and I really fought to take the knife. I kept the knife in the pocket. I was a maintenance engineer. I had to have a knife with me. I really didn't pull it out and start cleaning my nails or something, But the weirdest part about it, and the reason that I think that this is a good thing to do, is that when I didn't go manic and pull out knives and kill somebody, she ended up becoming a very good person to me. She stopped all her craziness, and it was like she straightened out, and we became not friends, but, acquaintances that were friendly. So, I'm going to start doing that. When next time they call, I'm just going to start the Our Father. See what happens to them.
Do it in Latin. That should be more impressive.
Well, that would be impressive if I could do it in Latin.
Just get the text printed out and just pronounce it the best you can.
I will say that I'm going to use the old one, not the new one. I'm going to say, Christia, I don't know if you've heard this one about the Mandela effect, maybe I told you. Yes, about the Our Father changing.
Yeah, we talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, so I am definitely going to say the old one and not the new one. But
now, I didn't hear that changed.
Oh, you didn't?
No. Oh, how'd they mess with that one?
Okay, it's on earth as it is in heaven.
Uh-huh.
Now it says in earth, I-N, instead of O-N.
Oh, wow.
Now that doesn't even make sense unless there's an inner earth civilization or something.
Yeah.
And then they said, they took away, it used to say, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us.
Uh-huh.
Now it says, forgive us our debts. And
but churches, I gotta go to that one. Churches have said, it's been interchangeable in churches. Trespasses versus debts.
Oh, that one I hadn't heard. I only knew
all my life it's been
I'm going to wait for the version that says, slay our enemies like we slay our debtors. Funky.
Oh, yeah. But, so maybe we'll try that.
It's a good thing I never read the Bible, because it was going to be changed anyway, so why bother, right? Better read the latest version.
Well, my interpretation of what's happening is that, and Colleen was the one that made me realize this. It was, if reality is what we think it is, then a whole bunch of us thought that it was the book of Revelations, plural, not Revelation. And we certainly thought that Jesus said, bring the doubters, the non-believers, and show them to me, and I will talk to them and see if I can't convince them, to now saying, bring the non-believers to me and I will slay them. What I think has happened is that if you look at the concept of just that concept of Jesus being a vengeful leader or somebody that is loving and peaceful and forgiving, it may be that a lot of Christians actually saw that in the Bible to begin with. Bring the non-believers to me and I will slay them. Because that would give them a right to do what they have done, which is to have the crusades and in the name of Jesus do so many awful, awful things. I mean, the Inquisition being just one of them, what they did in burning the Mayan books. I mean, all of this was in the name of Jesus. Well, I never could understand it because the Jesus I knew would never want to do that.
Well, now the prophecy, hear that big, does say that when Christ returns, he will come with a sword.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ready to clean house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he returns, it's not supposed to be the peaceful, love everybody kind of sort of person. So I'm wondering if all those who believe and hope for that exact thing to happen is also not part of why it changed. Although I'm still really, really puzzled as to how, but so I've been wondering about that as well. Because, there are a lot of people out there who are wanting the end of the world and the rapture and all of that sort of thing. And I think there's also a huge faction, who is trying to manipulate everything so that does in fact happen. However, how Jesus is supposed to return is kind of a question in my mind. Is it going to be a hologram? Because I always thought that the return of Jesus was our realization that everything that he told us about who we are inside is who we really are. And I think that was his whole message anyway. So why he would return to slay all the non-believers, I ain't buying that crap. She said as she shuts up.
Well, just take it for whatever it's worth. In the years that Dr. Costa, who I've mentioned before, he was going around doing the 15-step workshop. In all seriousness, somebody asked one time during the question and answer section before the workshop itself, somebody had a question regarding Jesus. I don't remember if the person had it wasn't reference to the Bible, but in all seriousness, he said, right now there are 3 simultaneous incarnations on the planet that are him. Because he is doing work, but he's not going to do it publicly. So what does that mean? Nobody followed up with other questions.
Been there, done that. Didn't turn out well.
So according to him, it wasn't one. There were actually 3 embodiments of Jesus at this time on earth. So, nobody knows where they are.
Why would he come back to earth and not let us know he's back?
Well, because he would be considered an enemy of the state. Think of everything that he preached.
Then why bother to come back at this time?
Because there are things that you can only do when you're an embodiment. Oh. That's why it's so the thing that Nancy has experienced and has explained in the past, about the one human taking responsibility, the one awake human making a choice for humanity. All those things cannot be done when you're sitting in another density, in another dimension. Just because when you're in the etheric plane or the astral plane, you can do all these magical things, doesn't mean that you can impact here in the 3D. That's why when the issue came up, people were asking about dark Etherians and dark entities and stuff like that, and he kind of brushed it off. He didn't laugh it off, but he brushed it off because he says, this is you, this is your embodiment, this is your body here, you're in your 3D is your realm. Therefore, you call the shots. I don't care who's bothering you. Just tell them to get the hell out. Because you're the boss. This is your body. This is your house. You decide who stays and who goes. And I don't care how powerful a negative entity happens to. I don't care what they name themselves. They are not in this density. They're bothering you from another density, so get the hell out. You have the last word. So being an embodiment is critical. It allows you to do stuff that you can't do on the other side. The other side is tremendous because they have access to all the information. Here we're on the other side of the veil where we don't know what the hell is going to happen tomorrow. But being here lets you do stuff you can't do on the other side.
Let me jump in for just a sec because, Dolly, you remember when Taryn was talking about the essences? He said the first wave of creation was 11 essences.
Oh yeah.
Okay, remember that? Mm-hmm. And then he was talking about Heather.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the essences.
And she carries the essence of one of the original 11. Well, what if one of the original essences also manifested on the earth plane as Jesus?
Well, according to you, wasn't he representative of the golden ray? Remember you said that?
Well, in a certain esoteric thought concept, yes, he's the Kohan of the seventh ray, which is the golden ray. And basically what you've got is you've got a hierarchy. And I mean, for all I know, they're the 11 essences. I mean, you can call different things. And you know, we want to talk about angels in a bit, and that's the sort of thing, you know, sort of the same thing. It's like, we've got spirits that we call certain names, but do we really know who they are or how they are or what they are? So what I'm just putting on the table here is, if Heather had such a presence to be able to declare for humanity a complete cessation of the crazy ass experiment or whatever was going on, because she is the essence of, well, if she was the same essence of that Jesus was, you'd have Jesus incarnated again, at least in one of the three forms that you could identify and say, yes, not only is she a representative of humanity, but she's representing the concept of what humanity can become, because Jesus is already out there demonstrating it. You know, I don't, and then you get into the concept of Jesus being a God. You know, the God the Father, God the Son. Does anybody remember Jesus ever saying that?
I have heard it all my life, but I don't know that I have seen it written in the Bible.
Yeah, I don't, you know,
Well, did you know?
Wait, Walt, let Christia say it here, because I'm really, you know, what? Talk to me, big girl.
Well, I don't think he said it. I think that's a human thing. And what I mean by human, I mean, the powers that rule the church have, you know, manipulated his word.
Yeah.
And I don't think he said that. I think he said, I was the lie. I am the lie. I am the way.
Well, he said, me and my Father are one, which is not to say I am God. He kept repeating that I and my Father are one.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as saying, yes, I am God. No, he's not saying that. He's saying I and my Father are one, but I am that I am, and my Father is my Father, and we are both one.
Which, in another way of saying it, is that I and the source are one.
Yeah. Well, talking about collective memory and collective perception, what's the movie from which the quote comes, play it again, Sam? What's that movie that comes to mind? Correct. Casablanca.
Casablanca. But it's not.
Thousands and thousands of people. You say that. Where does this quote come from? Play it again, Sam. Okay. You can watch that movie from end to end. Never in the film does he say those words.
No, he doesn't.
Where have you heard these words? Elementary, my dear Watson. What do they make you think
From
of?
Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. You can read every single book and watch the movie is a different story because movies are interpretations and they're screenplays and whatnot. But every single book about Sherlock Holmes, he never says, elementary, my dear Watson. So what people remember of certain things is not exact to what was written down or what was actually said. This is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with collective perceptions, which are not exactly a reflection of the original or what was actually said. And these things that the movie and the Sherlock Holmes thing, these are recent to us in this century or the past century. Now think about this book that was written supposedly, 2,000 years ago. So what the collective remembers or what the collective quotes, it's different from what is actually there, from the actual idea.
And I think that that's what we're seeing is that, I finally got an image in my head that kind of made it clear to me. Let me run it by you. I've said that when you make a decision, anytime you come and you stop and you make a decision, any decision, you essentially start up a timeline, because that's how powerful we are. So your thought of even considering an option starts movement in the energetic configuration of the universe. So let's think of it this way, that you've got the right is a red path and the left is a blue path. And to think of the path, think of it as a thread, just a piece of string. And so you start going up the blue path, and because you're resonating at the blue energy, it's an attraction to other people who are on the path that happens to be a blue path in regards to their reality. So you all come together. All these timelines, all of these different concepts of what life is about and what you're doing in life, and, I'm going to take that job over this job, I'm going to go to school, I'm not going to go to school, I'm going to marry that guy, I'm not going to marry that guy. All of those decisions are putting you on a colored path. And the colored paths are all coming together because you're resonating in unison. And as they get together, they become a rope. And once you've got a rope, you've got a reality. Now, it's just like Walt said earlier, that if you had a building that was with all these bricks, and all these bricks decided that they didn't want to be part of that building, and they just left, well, the building would be destroyed. Well, it's the same thing with the concepts of reality. If all of a sudden you go, oh my God, I really am on the wrong, I shouldn't be on this red line, I should be on the blue line. And everybody jumps, well now the blue line, the blue rope, that blue reality has got all the energy. And the other one doesn't have any energy because everybody jumped. And that's kind of the way I'm beginning to see easily, or more easy, how the concept of colliding realities can happen. Because I think that we have the Nazi reality, let's just call it the Nazi reality. And then you have the reality that I call kind of like the, goody two-shoes one, the one where you're ascending, but you're not ascending with any real crisis, or you're just ascending. It's a nice, beautiful, beautiful time. Been there, love it. If we had continued on that timeline without addressing the Nazi timeline, we'd be ascending right now, but we'd also be colliding with that Nazi timeline. And we wouldn't have been prepared for it. So we get on the Nazi timeline, and this rope of all these people who have this consensus of belief, just like Walt talks about, that they all are believing realities the same way. It was pretty awful. And then we jump and we're going, but it doesn't have to be awful. We've been on this timeline over here. I was talking about it like that, but there was few people that understood it. It was just sort of this understanding. But we were doing so fine. What happened? Why are we now over here? What is all this stuff? I mean, what, dragons? We got dragons that are leading us. They eat people and they do terrible things. And, it was like, who the heck wanted that reality? But we were suddenly stuck in it. Now, Walt and I come along and we say, well, we're being guided by Gaia, we're being guided by the jinn and a number of archangels and spirits to sort of like wake up and see what more you can do. And so we began to say, well, let's just build a new reality, one that's, in some space that's not being used, and we'll build this new reality. And you people that have been with us, we're going into, 18 months or more, talking about this, doing different energetic things to build it. And what I really think happened was that was the difference. That was the difference between completely shattering into the ascension timeline. We were on the Nazi timeline. We built a middle reality. So that when they started coming together last week, really, really coming together last week, that middle one, the one that Wolf Spirit has built, the one that says, no, we can make it better. We can make it better, and we don't have to have anybody die. Nobody has to suffer anymore. No more sacrifice. Nobody gets left behind. I know for me, this was an intense focus on my life. So you build that, and what happened was that when the two timelines started colliding, there was this middle one that kind of like took control of both of them. and it's balancing now. That's why some people are feeling like, oh yeah, I feel really, really good. And some people going, I'm not sure what I'm feeling. I don't think I feel good at all because I don't know what's happening. And there's more time glitches. People looking at clocks that should say 12 o'clock and they say 1 o'clock. Just all sorts of weird glitches that people have been mentioning to me. And I'm going, oh, that's interesting. So all of this is trying to balance out. And I think the key is that when it does get balanced out, we're going to have enough people who are awake, who are enlightened, that the people who are not at that level are just going to begin to pick up the resonance, because now everybody's in the same kind of like, it's all colliding. They're going to be all in the same consensus of reality and that's going to be, I don't know what the hell is happening, but that reality, okay? And only when humanity can get to that vibratory point of not knowing what's real, will they be prepared to see what's real. And I don't know if it'll be Sphere Alliance ships that suddenly appear, but I just feel like what Taryn is seeing is probably true. And because I like that storyline, I'm going to go along with it. I'm going to say, yeah, let's just do this. Let's do that. Out of all the possibilities that we have for now, let's just do that. Christia, you want to come in here, girl?
I love that idea. Though I think, Earth being the free will zone, I don't know that, I listened to the audios of Taryn and the Sphere Alliance and, last week when he was on Dolly's show and your show, and, I don't know if my human self can embrace that, poof, everything will be good. And, instantly we'll all ascend and we'll all be in this joy. And I think as we were talking, as Walt was talking and you were talking, as, we do have those belief systems. And I know I have my human self, those human belief systems that limit that. So I would love that, but is my human self allowing me to believe all that? I don't know. But I do know that would be awesome. I just don't know if I can embrace it at the moment. Because I think, but if the timeline shifted, cause there's free will. So I guess that's where I get hung up with, automatically we will ascend, when the Sphere Alliance appears, like, poof, and everything will be, the water will be clean and the earth will be, Gaia will be beautiful, and I don't know that I can go there.
I kind of think that we have to make the ascension before we can see them.
Well, that's what I think too. I guess that's what I was thinking.
See, we have this, that we've gone back and forth about the free will concept, and what we kind of decided was probably the way that we should approach it and deal with it, is that if you're asleep, you don't have any free will. If you don't understand you're being asked questions, and because you don't even know you're not being, there's a question on the table and you don't respond, and the negative side says, well, yes, we need your permission, but because you didn't respond and say no, then we have your implicit permission. That's how they've been manipulating us by the galactic rules.
Oh, cause kind of like if, well, you didn't answer us, so you didn't say no, so.
That's exactly what they've been doing.
Well, you didn't say no, so we're just gonna mess with you.
Exactly. And nobody was there to, figure this out and say, no, that, you can't do that. It's almost like a lawyer interpreting the law. You know? Yeah, you need their consensus, but if they don't say no, and then you say, well, but if they don't say no, then it means yes.
Right. It's kind of like, it was in the fine print.
Exactly. So, people that were waking up and understanding that you had to say no, you know, and started saying no, they are awake. They have control over free will because they know that there's a question on the table and they know that they have to say no to stop it. All right. Now, as a human being who's awake, it's not just your right to be able to speak in the name of humanity, but it's your responsibility to do so. It's the parent standing up for the child.
Yes.
The child doesn't even know they're in danger.
Right.
You know, that's where I see it's at. And there's got to be some kind of some threshold where enough people have woken up and are acting in the name of humanity that the universe cannot, it's going to overwhelm them.
Right, like a tipping point.
Like a tipping point.
Yeah.
But until that happens, I don't believe that, because again, Taryn was very, pointed in that source is making the decision as to when. It has nothing to do with the Spear Alliance things. They can't do anything until they get the go-ahead from source. What that will be, I bet they don't even know. I bet that if you ask that what is going to make the difference, when do you think you're going to be able to do this? And I bet they don't really know themselves.
I do believe that. I do believe that they don't know.
But didn't he say that what the Spirit Alliance was on the lookout for is for that shift in human consciousness, that 100th monkey effect where they will, cascading effect where the majority will choose this particular level of consciousness or this particular focus in consciousness, and that's what they were waiting for before they could reveal themselves?
I didn't hear him say that, but it sort of comes back to the concept of reality is what you think it is. As long as Christia cannot imagining it happen, okay, and she's awake, it probably won't happen. So she's the person that has to change.
Yeah, but that's her reality.
I'm going to put it all on her, but you understand what I'm saying?
But not that you're pointing fingers or anything.
No, but you understand it's the awake people who are awake and they know there's a problem, but they can't understand that it can change in a fraction of an eye. It's like Walt says, it might have taken you 50 years to get screwed up. It doesn't say that you're going to take 50 years to get you unscrewed.
Correct.
And Taryn, you and Dolly, you and Taryn had that conversation about how things could happen so fast once you've had an NDE or during an NDE.
Oh yeah. It happens. You can't even say how fast it happens because it happens faster than that.
Yeah. And when we can get to that point of enough people believing that it can happen that fast, that it's just a matter of one fraction of an instant to another, and you go, oh my God, I got it. I mean, how many times have you done this in your life? I don't understand this math, it's not making any sense to me, and then all of a sudden somebody gives you a little bit of a thing, and you go, oh my God, now I understand.
Oh my God, it reminds me of the time, there's a page in my crystal book that I've had this book since 97, and it wasn't until I went to a lecture in 2003 that I understood that page.
And you wrote it?
No. It's what book is this?
Someone else wrote it.
Yeah, someone else wrote it. It's called Love is in the Earth. But there's a page in the book called...
It's Melody. I have that book.
Yeah, on page 45, Numerical Vibrations, she talks about the numbers, how crystals can vibrate at certain numbers, and then she gives you a little thing on how to figure it out. And I used to stare at that page, and it was like, and then another language, and it wasn't until I went to this lecture by this mathematician, crystal lady, that she kind of explained it to me that I knew exactly what she was talking about. And she was talking about that page, ironically. And it all came together for me in that moment. So I totally get what you're saying. How in that moment you can just...
Well, according to Dr. Hoffman, Stuart Hoffman, who was an anesthesiologist, and he got working with, I can never remember this guy's name, he's a very well-known quantum physicist, but they had come to the realization that those aha moments, they were calling them aha moments, where you go, oh my God, I can see it,
Yeah.
That's what builds your consciousness. That those aha moments have a certain frequency to them, and they are maintained within your energetic body.
Well, those are holes in the veil. That's when you momentarily get to access the rest of you.
Right. And again, that was what he was saying, Taryn was saying, that we're going to have access to everything that Source knows. And when he was saying that, I'm going like, well, really, we already do have that. We ask questions, and it may take some time, but those questions will be answered. You know what I'm saying? Dolly, you want to say something? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
That's okay. Back to what you were saying about the changes. I'm reading the book now, How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain, The New Science of Transformation, by Dr. Andrew Newberg and Mark Robert Waldman. Anyway, in the book, they are CAT scanning people's brains when they have had like aha moments. The aha moments can be seen on the CAT scan. It makes a difference in your brain.
They were actually using that technique. I don't know if they talk about it in the book, and I think it is the same technique, with a group of llamas. And they found that an average, I don't remember the numbers now, but an average person could have an aha moment, once every hour, whereas llamas were having 8, 10, 20 aha moments every hour.
Wow.
See,
I don't remember reading that in the book.
Yeah, see if it doesn't come up. I can't remember. I don't think I read.
When you say llamas, do you mean like monks?
Monks. Tibetan
okay.
Oh, monks. I thought you meant the animal.
Oh, no.
When you say llama, I'm thinking, is she talking about llamas, the animal, or monks?
Yes, it did refer to the monk llamas that you're saying. It did refer to that in the book, and yes, they got that in the CAT scan stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's going to be just a huge aha moment is all it's going to be. And it's going to be painless.
Sounds like the dropping of the veil.
Yeah, well, when you do have those aha moments, it's almost like, oh, and I know this. It's not just, oh, I get it. It's, I get it and I know this.
Yeah, like a remembering.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Coming home. Yeah.
I noticed
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that I'm grateful for this gentleman who introduced me to shamanic journeying, because when you do the journey, you constantly have to cross the veil back and forth, and it's so frustrating and infuriating that you're in the middle of the shamanic journey. You're sitting there with a person's guide. They're showing you something incredibly complex like this. The most complex journey I've had yet is there's this Russian lady living in California. Her guides are in the inner earth, and they literally gave me a new healing modality for her. She has to learn how to adjust the 35 creative currents that make up the matrix of the body. And it's amazing. You're sitting there and you're getting volumes and volumes and volumes of information, and it all makes sense. And then as you cross that veil and you come back into your body, you have to write it. I have to write it at super speed. Otherwise it just begins to fade, and it begins to fade, and you're like kicking yourself. But they said, did they say it like this? Did they say it? So thanks to the fact that I do dowsing, I ask the questions with a pendulum, Is it supposed to be like this? Is it supposed to be like this? Was this number, am I remembering this number correctly? And thus I use the dowsing to back up my memory and make sure that I'm writing things faithfully to what I initially heard. Because you cross that veil and things that you understood, it's like, for those of you that followed the original Star Trek series with, Kirk and the others, I don't know if you remember, there was one episode where Spock's brain was stolen, and it was taken by a race of women that lived underground in a planet, and they needed Spock's brain to run the machine that allowed their underground installation to operate. So, and they found the woman that took the brain, but she had like the mentality of a child, and they found this machine that looked like a big helmet, and if you put yourself in there, it would download into your consciousness the sum total of knowledge of the civilization that had become extinct. So they needed to put Spock's brain back into his body. So even though the human physiology was different, McCoy said, I'm the most qualified to receive this because I'm going to have to operate on him. So he got in the machine does its download, and he kind of collapses from the pressure. But then he stands up and he goes, oh my God, even a child could do this.
I remember that. And then he started forgetting before the surgery's over.
Yeah, and Spock had to give him the final instructions to finish connecting his brain.
Well, I've done that in meditation. Back when I used to meditate a lot, it was like I'd be filled with all of this information, and it made perfect sense. And everything came together. And as soon as I came out of meditation, I'm like, in the process, I'm like, I'm going to remember all this. I'm going to remember all this. And as soon as I come out of it, and I'm trying to recall, nothing. It's like, that was so wonderful. And I've done it in dream time, too. It was like I was in school all night and just learning and learning and learning, but as soon as I woke up, it's gone. Well, in the physical, I'm sure it's somewhere still in there, but as the physical
you can't
memory.
Remember it.
In the physical, nope, nothing.
That's why Casey couldn't write down the stuff. He would be talking in trance and somebody would be transcribing. Because as soon as he woke up, he would go back to being normal human being. Edgar Casey. They had to, he would be lying down on the divan and somebody would be next to him just transcribing, and he was talking and talking and talking. He never wrote any of the stuff he saw.
He actually disagreed with some of it.
Yeah. So.
Well, his strong Christian belief, a lot of what he said, a lot of what he did, because he didn't, no way did he see himself as a psychic, because that was against all the church teachings. But, so not only did he disagree, but for, the longest time he didn't think that that's what he was doing.
And that's the conflict between the low soul, the soul of the vehicle, and the high soul inhabiting the vehicle. We are inhabiting this animal body, and the animal has an animal soul. For the longest, what happens is with Eastern writings, the old esoteric writings, they never come out and say it so plainly. They refer to the animal soul as, like, for example, I've only seen two copies of it, one in the Brooklyn library and the other one in the Los Angeles library. There's an esoteric book called The Dayspring of Youth, written by an author that always wrote his books with an initial, M. And he always would say in the preface that he was writing this book with the permission of the Great White Brotherhood. But they would, in the writings, they would refer to the low soul, the soul of the body, as the hidden enemy. and they would actually give it a location in the spine. And that's why when consciousness rises, if you visualize your spine like a thermometer, as the temperature rises, you see the red fluid going up the column. That's what happens with consciousness sits on the different chakras. And as you evolve and change, your consciousness goes up, but so goes the animal soul trying to follow you. And it always brings you down to the 3 basic chakras, which are about, sexuality and food and shelter, all the concerns of the animal. So if that's your focus, that's where your consciousness stays. That's why the old yogis and all these adepts would undergo such strenuous physical disciplines, because that was the gist of the practice, to bring that low soul into discipline, to make it, work with the high soul, not against it. But that's not even, that was fine, 200, 100 years ago. But now you don't need that. The vibration of Earth is so high that we're there. We don't need to, you don't need to spend 50 years in a cave meditating to reach samadhi. And even then, samadhi is a state of consciousness. It is not the ultimate state. It's just one of the many states of consciousness. And it's incompatible with the body, because the body has to be literally in stasis mode while your consciousness is experiencing samadhi. So in and of itself is not an ultimate anything. It's just another experience.
Can you expand on the concept of the lower soul for people that might not understand it, like me?
Yes, that's why domesticated animals, pets that are raised with love and care and concern, not pets that are tortured, to 1 inch of their life. I mean, pets that are truly cherished and loved. They display levels of intelligence superior to their wild counterparts. And in the raw material, it explains how when an animal, domesticated animal, is raised, because of that proximity to humans and because they're being treated with love, a higher soul can come in and incarnate in that animal body. So that accelerates the evolution of the animal soul in that body. Because some people get offended by this. No, I'm not an animal. Well, you're not a vegetable and you're not a mineral. What do you think you are? Yes, you talk and you drive cars and you write books, but you're still wearing an animal body. And the animal body has to have a soul, and that comes from Gaia. That's why when they do, most people that do this business of ghost investigation, and they find these people stuck in old homes and old buildings and old hospitals, they're not dealing with high souls. They're dealing with low souls, because the low soul is the one that's constantly feeling identified with the body, identified with the gender, identified with their name, their place. This was my house. I was born in this house and I lived here 90 years. I'm not going to go anywhere. That's the low soul. Because of the veil, they get disconnected from Earth and they don't know how to go back. Because I mentioned this in other shows where in ancient time, like Atlantean times, the same way you have dentists and painters and lawyers and any profession, you have dream workers, which they're standing by as soon as the person passes on. Their job is to usher that low soul back into the earth. So he's not going to stuck around and cause problems for others. I'm a direct experiencer of that, because I made a mistake of holding on to my dad as he was dying. So part of his low soul slipped into me. Because they're afraid of death. They think a low soul has about the same maturity as a 5-6-year-old. That's why when you say things, they take you literally. Like, if you eat a piece of cake and you're saying to yourself, I love this cake, but I know I'm going to gain 5 pounds afterwards. They're listening to that. It's their job to manage the body. So they're saying, oh, Walter wants another 5 pounds. Okay, guys, let's get to work.
Let me ask you this, Walt. Can a lower soul could go from birth to death without any higher soul coming in?
Correct. In fact, many times people that are going to die, the soul leaves before they die because they don't want to go through that trauma again. So you see them moving around, you can talk to them, say hi, they drive the car, they go buy groceries, but that's just the low soul.
Okay, so technically could you, or would you accept that this is technically correct, that all the people that are asleep are really low souls and they're never going to wake up because there's nothing to wake them up, because there's no higher soul or higher spirit or higher essence involved with their existence?
No, I wouldn't say that, because the only way that I know that you can conceive a body and make it live with just a low soul is when they do cloning. Because you see, the instant, the moment, that's why, remember what he said about civilizations that use artificial wombs, that they're having to learn the lesson, that there's significance to the baby growing inside the mother. Remember, Taryn said that?
Yes. Okay.
He's very accurate, because at the moment of conception, when that spermatozoa is able to penetrate the membrane of the ovum and initiate, it ignites the process of cell division. At the instant that happened, a beam shoots off into the astral field, indicating a body is ready for occupation. So the way Dr. Costa explains it on the other side, there's not one soul waiting for the body. There's a line. He says there's hundreds waiting to see who will get the chance to get into that baby. So as soon as, for whatever, I don't know how the selection process works, or if it's genetic or if it's a contract. I know that incarnation was, when the archons were still active, incarnation was subverted. So you weren't allowed to be born near your soul family. Now I take it that it's different. That control isn't there. But a soul takes hold of that beam and follows it back into the baby. That's why some people, and I'm one of those people, still have memories of going down a tube. And as a little kid, I had those recurring dreams of slipping down a tube, and I was wondering, am I going to die? Because it kept getting thinner and thinner, and how am I going to squeeze out of this tube? And at the end of the tube, I wake up and I was in my bed. And I have come across people that have had this dream as little children. So, but when you clone the body, because you're doing it in an artificial fashion, when you ignite that cell division of that begins the cloning process, it's Gaia that's going to respond to that. That's life wanting to live. And in order to animate that life, I need to put a soul in there. But the interesting thing about clones is that they only live 7 years. And our bodies have a 7-year cycle. I don't care what year you were born. Never are you more than 7 years old. Every 7 years we change all our cells. And the presence of the soul in your body is what keeps it going. There are many animals that if you see them, their life cycle, for example, Saint Bernard dogs, they don't live more than 6 or 7 years. And that's what happens with these people with their hidden technology. The cabal, they say that, Cheney was cloned, and I've read all these articles about all these different politicians and power players that got their bodies cloned. Somebody did a picture analysis from this year to this year to this year, and there's one character that he looks whatever age he is, then all of a sudden he looks older, then all of a sudden he looks younger. They have these sequence photos that paparazzi captured of this guy, and it made no sense. And he kept saying is that because every so many years they have to replace the clone because it dies. And that's because there is no high soul in there. It's just running. It's like a bus driving an empty bus. Yeah, he's driving it, okay, but there's nobody occupying the bus.
Well, with that said, we're at the top of the hour. You said you only wanted to be here for the first hour. Do you want to continue, or do you want to leave and we can talk?
I got stuff to do. Sorry, guys.
All right, then we're going to talk about you when you leave.
Good. If my ears burn, then know it's you guys.
You'll know it's us guys. Christia has already made is on break. Let's put it that way. Colleen, do you have a tune to do? And Walt, I want to thank you so very much for staying with us.
Thank you for having me.
Dolly's appreciative that you did her show. And we're always appreciating all of Dolly's guests. So you be safe, and I'll see you Tuesday, I guess. Probably talk.
Okay, perfect.
We don't have.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, Walt.
Safe.
Night, Walt. Love you.
Good night. Love you guys. Take care.
Be safe. Yeah, I'm here, Dolly.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, excellent. I really would like to ask you about your Angel Oracle cards. When I was putting together the promo for the show, I went to your website, and I've been on the website before, but this time there was a photograph of the cards, and all of a sudden I was just, boom, hit with this energy, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was just so fascinated with it. And I said, oh, but I've got her on the show today. I'm going to ask her more about it. How did you... Okay, can you describe what they are? Just talk about them a bit so that...
Sure. It's 33 archangel cards, and it's all my own artwork. It's all my own words. Each card, is like a little channeling. It comes, there's the image on the card, and then the name of the angel, and then whatever that angel is going to talk about, like, Archangel Uziel, stay positive. And then you could go to the book, and then it has its own little, their own little, like, words about it. I just channeled some words, and the angel artwork is artwork I have done. Really, some of these images date all the way back to 2000. So it's a collection of some of my images, and it just came together really, really fast. I'd always wanted to do a divination deck, and when timing's right, it just flows, and I didn't need to reinvent the wheel. So this opportunity came. It was a woman had a new publishing company, and she was interested in my artwork, and she had some people that believed. How she did it was there were some people that really liked my artwork, and she did like a pledge, and they pledged, and so they kind of were like the backers of getting it published. And then so there's a few decks out there in the world that are in print. So it's exciting. And I love to use them with my clients. And of course I've got other ideas for other divination decks already, but I just really love using these. And I just keep it really simple. I think as humans we kind of overcomplicate things. So I don't get too caught up in angel names, even though I've got names on the cards. It's more about a frequency or the energy of the angel. And so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Now, when you were taking and doing the writing of, I'm assuming you had a name. There would be a name involved, and the name is a frequency. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so you would connect on a telepathic kind of thing, or were you... Alright, let me put it to you this way. Do you believe that you were telepathically in connection with an entity, angel by this name, that's outside of you? Or did you feel like you were tapping some kind of inner knowledge about frequencies themselves?
I never thought of it either of that. I just saw it as, I would say the angel name, and I would go to my computer and do automatic writing. So like channeling.
Okay.
like, would you want me to, how about I pull a card and read it?
Okay, yeah, good idea.
And then that way you could kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. Oh, this card just popped out.
I heard it.
Archangel is, now let's see if I'm pronouncing it. See, also I trip over words, so I'm not, it's Israfel, Israfel, and it's Archangel Israfel. Joy is the card. It's number 32. So here we go. Let's see what it says. So in the book, you'll see the number, the name, and then the word joy. And it says, Archangel Israfel brings the energy and pure joy to you this day. The energy of joy is contagious. Remember a time where you had complete joy in your heart. Call upon that feeling and ask Israfel to help you bring it into your body. As you bring this energy into your physical form, ask the cells in your body to soak up this energy. Ask the cells to remember this joy. Archangel Israfel will help you with this process. It may be hard for you. This might not be a time where you can even summon up the joy, and it's okay. That is why Israfel is here for you right now in this moment, to bring joy back to you. Ask for help now. Give thanks to this archangel for their assistance in this process.
Okay, so now let me ask you this. Did you see some list of the angels' names, or were these names that just came to you?
Yes, I did have a list of names.
And you would... Okay,
and so what I did was I wrote the names down on little pieces of paper. I actually had like more than 33 names. I had a whole bunch of names. And I had printed out, I'd gotten together, my images in color, either the original image, or if I didn't have original image still, if I'd sold it, I had it in like a color print. And then I took the
You're
names.
talking about your artwork. You had already been inspired to do a pictorial of an angel.
Oh yeah, I had plenty of images. And so I printed them out, or I had the originals, and I had them all around. And then I took the names, and I had written them down like on little pieces of paper, and I put them in a jar. And so what I would do is, and this was a process over a few weeks. So I would, call them in through prayer and meditation, and get in that vibration. And I would say, okay, who wants to come out and play today? And I would, either go to the image or go to the jar first. And some days it was one or the other. And then I would either the name or the image would come out, and then I would pull a name or look at the image and then kind of match them. And then I would say, okay, what are you about? What do you want to talk to? What do you want to come through to say? What do you want to say to people? Like if I was to draw your card, what do you want people to know about you? Your frequency. And then I would just go, years ago I had gotten into channeling. I was kind of nervous I had been told I was a channel, but I was kind of nervous about it. So I got into kind of, automatically just, typing, just instead of like trance channeling, now I could do that. But, before I was kind of nervous. So I just got into the habit of, say a little prayer, connect, and then surrender, and then open up, and then just let it flow. And that's how it came to be. And once you're in the frequency of it, it comes very fast.
Well, what you're saying to me feels very similar to what I was encountering when I do writing. Okay, I was writing the 9/11 crusade, which is, the truth about 9/11, but then fictionalized. And I had no preconceived notion of anything except that I had to keep my characters in a car for 9 hours. One of them who didn't believe in the conspiracy behind 9/11 and the other one that did, because I wanted to have control over the dialogue of how this person who thinks that the government told him the truth is convinced that it's otherwise. So that was the only thing. I just wanted to make people aware that, there's another story than the one offered to you. But the characters I didn't know. I didn't know the storyline. No. Everything was like sort of up in the air. And I just sort of started writing, and it was like somebody was telling me the story. It was the easiest write. Yes, I'd have to stop to check my facts to make sure that my dialogue regarding the story facts were true. But as far as the story went, it was just, wow, I kept going like, oh, really? That's what happened? It wasn't like, it was more like I was listening than I was actually something in my head imagining. And it was a very, very interesting, experience. And I'd done a lot of writing, both fiction and nonfiction. But when they ended the book, I was going on for another 120 pages, and I went, what, why are you ending the book? It doesn't seem like, they said, you said in the beginning of the book you wanted to talk about 9/11. You have done that. Write another book. But the creative process is maybe the key to awakening our own powers, to give over to that creative energy that comes through, which I think you probably did when you were doing the any of your artwork, any of the avenues that you take. And I just find it kind of fascinating. It's like we're walking around and we got all this knowledge and all these stories and all this stuff in our heads, and people that are creative at least have an avenue for it. But what happens to all these people that just walk around and never do anything like that? How do we, because I think it's the key. If you can understand, the amazing powers of your own mind and thinking, you can imagine all sorts of things. And it's in the imagining of, a creator consciousness Gaia that can, if you just think about the things that are on this planet, from the minerals to the plants to the fish, there is so much diversity. It's her creation out of her imagination that manifests into this biosphere. And we are part and parcel to her. So when we talk about the consensus of reality, it also is a consensus of reality as Gaia perceives it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
Dolly, you got anything? Colleen, jump in here. We're just swapping thoughts.
I'm eating. I got hungry, so I got a bowl of cereal.
Ah. Yeah.
I'm finding what you guys are saying fascinating.
Well, I know what you're talking about, because, as I said, I used to write poetry and I used to paint, and I really felt like I was channeling, because, I didn't have any training. I didn't know, where this was coming from, but in writing poetry, a lot of times the words would just flow. Whereas if I tried to force them, it didn't work out as well. It was, then I had to do all this editing and rearranging of stuff and stuff. But if I just let the words flow as I wrote them all down, and then I'd look at it or read it later and go, wow, where'd that come from? Because I knew I didn't know all that stuff, because a lot of it was rather philosophical. So I understand exactly what you're saying. And I kind of felt like I was channeling, although I wasn't trying to. I mean, that was not my original intent. I was just going to sit down and write, So I understand.
But you're saying channeling, and I'm not sure that is, because channeling connotes that something outside of us. I think we're connecting to higher knowledge.
Well,
that we have inside of us.
Well, now, the general consensus is that it's from another entity being outside of us. But I'm not certain that's what it is. I know that it didn't come from this 3D consciousness. Now, it could be higher self, higher soul, whatever you want to call it, part of that whole collective consciousness maybe. I'm not saying that it was some sort of entity or an angel or a demon or anything like that. I'm just saying that it did not come from this conscious 3D person as I understand a young Colleen to have been.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to say that I believe channeling, I know what you're saying, that it comes outside of us, but I believe that you can channel your higher self, your soul self, your highest vibrational self at the highest multidimensional level. And that's kind of what I see, like when I do my artwork, I feel like that's what I'm channeling or tapping into. And when I do my writing or my healing, when I work with a client, I see it as multidimensional, because I see it as, me accessing my highest self, but also with the help of the higher realms, the higher multidimensional realms.
And that help is always, it's always good help. I mean, because I know that there's people out there that absolutely are getting what we're saying, but there's some people out there that are not, because they've never just let their minds go into this space where it's like everything is there, everything is possible. And yet they do it every time they go to fall asleep.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, because in essence, what's happening when you get into a creative, they do the testing, they're taking the brainwaves, Dolly, and they can see that when somebody is in a meditative state or an extreme creative state, that their brainwaves actually change. The frequency becomes that of alpha. Now they call it alpha because it was the first frequency they saw. But then somebody said, well, what about the frequency? If we're going to name this strange frequency, we better name the frequency that was there to begin with. So your normal consciousness, the normal frequency that you're operating on, is called beta. All right? So you've got the beta consciousness that gets you through the 3D life. But when you get sleepy and you're starting to fall off and your mind starts to just kind of float in front of you, that's the beginning of the alpha frequencies. You're creative, you get the alpha frequencies. And because we're all energy bodies, I think the alpha signal opens up to maybe our alpha personality, which I call the consciousness of the soul, the spirit. And so now you got a direct link, and they can train you to be able to call up alpha frequencies, because it's something you can feel, it's something that you're familiar with if you've been a creative person or a meditative person. You know what that signal feels like. So when we're talking in terms of the different layers of kind of like channeling, to me it's got to be an internal circuitry to our higher knowledge. Now, interestingly enough, as you go into REM sleep, when you're in the deepest level of sleep, the frequency, and in fact the entire signature of the brain at that moment, is identical to the frequency they get off of people who are in a psychic state, where they're actually, doing their psychic thing. Different modalities, but they all have that same signature. And even weirder than that is that people that are on hallucinogenics have the identical same thing too. So if you're on LSD, you're having a psychic event, or you're in REM sleep, you all come up with what's called the theta frequency. And that frequency is touching some higher echelon of consciousness, which I think is the collective consciousness, the consciousness of spirit. I don't know. But if we just look at what happened, and that's why one of the reasons that I get fascinated and ask people, well, where did you think you were getting the information? Because it's key to understanding manifestation. You can't have manifestation without thought. But what kind of thought? What frequency of thought? And I just wish that more people would do creative things, not to become famous and not to do it for any other reason than to do it. Because you're going to be in a state, an alpha state, and then if you can really kind of let it all go, you'll peak into theta, and to be awake and feeling theta is an acid trip. It's like, this is just the way that it is. We're all energy bodies. I'm done. Anybody else?
Well, I want to get some feedback. When I am in bed, sometimes, I think it's just before I go into sleep mode, I'm having these thoughts that are not thoughts that I would have while I'm awake or talking to you out now, conscious thoughts. But they're wonderful thoughts, and they're deep thoughts, and I think, and all of a sudden something pulls me out of it. And I know I've been talking to somebody, and I say, oh, please don't let me forget that, and immediately it's forgotten. But I know that I was thinking and talking with someone. Where's that coming from? Am I just being crazy? Is this a real thing that's happening to me? I don't know what to do with it, or if it's even real.
Well, I think it's real.
I think it's real. I don't think you're crazy. I asked the angels to help you remember it. I feel like you're accessing things that maybe there's some belief. I'm not saying that you in the 3D believe this, but maybe there's a belief system that says you can't have these kind of thoughts when you're conscious. So you're accessing things in the unconscious. But I would ask the angels to help you.
That's a good idea, Christia. I hadn't thought of that.
Well, you would have been in the alpha state. As you start to fall asleep, you're in the alpha state. Okay, so, and the alpha state is like a signal to your subconscious.
Ah.
All right, so you're really probably getting imprints from what your subconscious has picked up, and because it's sort of like a computer thing where, you have to get onto the internet to be able to communicate with the internet, and to do that you have to have an internet connection. Well, to get to that subconscious, the conscious mind of your soul, you have got to be able to have an energy frequency that will allow that connection, and that's the alpha frequency. So the alpha frequency is present when you're meditative, when you're creative, or before when you start falling asleep. And so you've got an open conduit. Now, I think the problem comes in that when that information is downloaded, all right, into your 3D brain, you're trying to access alpha information with a beta mind.
Oh.
Can you understand that?
Yeah.
All right. So what you need to do is to think in terms of allow. I don't even know, because I mean, I sort of like, I've done this for so long that that's kind of where I'm at with it, is my beta mind has been trained to accept anything that seems weird,
Uh-huh.
As its own.
I can understand that, yeah.
Okay, and a lot of that comes from commitment. When, like Shungite's going to work whether you believe in it or not. But if you believe in it, it becomes more powerful because you're committed to it. You are giving it the ability to do what it does and sort of permission. Here, I'm going to let you do this, So it's the same sort of thing in training your beta mind. It's like, beta mind, I know you don't want to think about, the fact that there might be a devil someplace. But I'm telling you, you got to accept the information so that we can deal with it. It's just a programming thing. Give yourself permission to think about things at the beta level that the beta level normally wouldn't, because we've been trained not to touch this stuff. But
That's
it really,
cool. But what happens when I know that I'm talking to somebody? Because I've even said on my way out of where I was and into the now, I hear myself saying, no, please don't leave me yet. Somebody's there with me.
well, that's because when you go into the alpha frequency, now you're vibrating in a frequency that is at the veil, basically. And if you're focused on the energy, you will go through the veil. Now you're in the etheric. People want to talk in terms of dimensions, the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension. I don't agree with, well, Terran doesn't either, but I just don't feel comfortable with those designators. It's more like different frequencies. So when you're in the etheric, it's like a whole different world. And you can talk to, that when he's doing a shamanic journey, and he's in the etheric world. When I remote view, I have to go through the etheric in order to go wherever I'm going. And if he's there and I can stay there and I can have interactions with different beings that are at the etheric level. Now they may have a 3D version of them, but everybody has an etheric. The etheric is the blueprint, the energetic blueprint for the physical body. To me, when he talks about that lower soul thing, the animal soul thing, to me that is a soul that is essentially existing in the etheric frequencies. And it's just a feeling because, like I say, the etheric is the blueprint for the 3D body. Whereas if you had the soul, some soul or spirit, I don't even know what to call these things, but this other energy that comes in and inhabits the vehicle of the 3D body, that's really operating in a different frequency. And it's not that it's fourth dimension or fifth or sixth dimension, it's just a different essence, like Terran put it. A different frequency. So I don't know if that's helped or not, but one of the things that, because you're very close to what's would work into a lucid dream, Dolly.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
Okay, so when they talk in terms of lucid dreaming, they tell you that you can tell yourself to remember in the dream.
This is I know what lucid dreaming is because I do that. But this is not lucid dreaming. Well,
no, I know that, but I'm saying that it might work there too.
Oh. If I tell myself to remember.
Remember. It might just be that simple. Give it
I tell myself as I'm coming out and I'm remembering things. Remember this, and boom, it's gone. Damn it. It won't stay with me. I get so upset. Because it's stuff that's really, to me, it's really cool. It's really something I need to write down. I can't even turn over in my bed to write it down because it's gone before I get turned over.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Frustrating.
I know that feeling.
Very frustrating. And so I was wondering, oh geez, am I just making this shit up in my head?
Anybody else got any comments?
I really don't. Yeah, I don't think you're making it up, and it almost feels like you're having conversations with your guides or
that's
soul family.
That's the kind of feel I get. Yeah.
It almost feels like a conscious expansion conversation. Like calming your 3D self, with this higher conversation. I bet, if you form a team, an angel team, to help you remember, and for some reason they keep showing me, back when I was first, awakening, I would have these short, naps. And in those short naps, I would be like sitting in school, and there would be like, it depending on who was teaching me that day in the dream, I'd be like sitting at a desk, and there'd be someone at the chalkboard, and a lot of times it was like this, older gentleman with long silvery hair, could be native, person, but just sometimes they didn't show me his face. Sometimes it was female. But that's what it feels like to me. Like you're learning, like you're gaining, information as well as having a conversation.
Yeah. I used to go to school every night. Not that I wanted to, but they would take me away to school every night. And I knew. But I haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah. This feels like it's that, but up a level. You know what I mean? Like, now, let's say you were in high school, now you're in college or working on your doctorate.
Yeah, I can get that.
It's like a higher level, it's like now you're not just, like when you first start learning about spirit, you ask, questions about like daily life, but then once you get into spirit and you understand it, then you start asking like the bigger questions, like, world peace and,
I gave up on that.
Well, you know what I mean, like the bigger.
But I did. I asked for that for a long, long, long time. And I finally gave up on it. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up. Don't give up.
Speaking of world peace, we probably should say something about the Republican convention.
I didn't get.
I know nothing about it.
Neither do we. We won't touch it with a. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I accidentally got on the. I was watching PBS, and they
you were
started
watching
up with
PBS.
PBS.
Okay.
It would have been. Yeah, that's a better. Well, anyway,
public bullshit station.
Yeah. They started up with the convention, and all of a sudden I'm realizing that Trump is talking, and I think he said 35 words before I went, I can't stand it.
I can't stand even. No, I can't do it.
I mean, you talk about a reality. I mean, what in the world is happening out there? Not that I really care to look at it, but it just is like, oh my God.
To me, it truly is a different world. Yeah. And it's a world I cannot tolerate anymore. I can't, my system can't be anywhere near that kind of garbage is what I even call it.
Well, I think that it all started, or at least I'll say when I first really noticed it, was when Obama first ran. And the conventions and the shenanigans, and then, then Sarah Palin came out with her strangeness. And it just seems to have all kind of rolled downhill from there. It's like that was a test ground to see how many people would go for that kind of crap. And then they went, wow, people are buying this crap. And so they've multiplied it times 100, and people are like, yeah, yeah. And you're like, oh my God. It's funny in a way, but at the same time, it's very, very sad.
Yeah, I don't see humor in it at all anymore. I just see sadness.
Well, did you see that piece that, is it what, the Simpsons piece? I don't even know how old it is, but it was before Donald Trump was even a gleam in the presidential eye, so to speak. But it shows different, media clips of him that are replicas of what was in the Simpsons cartoon.
You mean Donald Trump in Simpsons cartoon?
Yes.
Oh, see, I don't watch that. I don't see that stuff.
Did they identify him as Trump, or
yes.
was it really?
Yes.
Now, did you get stuck in that time shift there, Colleen?
Well, no, because I've never been a big Simpsons fan, and I'm certainly not a Donald fan. But I've seen them on YouTube, and on Facebook and stuff, and you watch, and I click on them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because it shows the old, the cartoon, which, like I say, has been years ago, was where it come from, plus some of his publicity types, where the cameras and stuff following him around and all this kind of, he's doing these campaign waves and stuff. But they're exact replicas of the scenes out of The Simpsons.
Jeez.
I mean, to the point of he's going down an escalator, and I guess it's his wife in front of him, and there's people up around the railing up around the top of it, and the papers they're holding in, even to the point where one person is dropping a paper, and and the hand movement is way from one hand to another hand. And then the paper dropping, it's exact. And you're like,
Weird.
It is weird.
That's so
now,
weird.
is Donald and his PR people, are they mimicking the thing, or did it just happen coincidentally that that's the way it come out? Because people are saying the
Mandela effect.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
people,
that's what I'm thinking.
People are saying, that the Simpsons creator, prophesized, although I don't think they said prophesized. I think they used the word predicted this. But you're still like, oh my God, it's pretty freaky.
Whoa. That just blows my mind. It's kind of like, huh.
Yeah. Kind of did mine too. Because I keep hoping people are going to wake up,
Well, that's what I keep praying. And so the Taryn thing about, full disclosure and the ships appear and the Earth's all healed and everyone wakes up. So I've been holding that if that can happen, then that means that Donald Trump would wake up. And so maybe it doesn't matter who wins, because that person will wake up and, it's all good, right?
I keep getting the feeling that there is not going to be an election. We aren't going to make it to an election. That's what I have been feeling for the last year. We're never going to get to that election. Wise people paying attention. We're not getting there. That's what comes in my head. And I feel it in every fiber of my being, but I don't know where it's coming from.
Well, I know that's been, lots of people are saying that.
I didn't know that even.
Yeah, lots of people, well, I say lots. Some people are saying that.
What do they think is going to happen?
Well, there's several, what's the word I want? Several opinions, I suppose I'll say, about that. And one is that there's going to be some big, massive something going on. And there's going to be this huge crackdown. And this secret government that's hidden in a bunker mountain somewhere in Virginia or somewhere, I think, are going to take over on a temporary basis. And the president's already been assigned and all that kind of stuff, is one scenario.
Like
In the other scenario is the Sphere Alliance awaiting us to awaken so that none of that happens. That's all old reality crap. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. It's just not going to happen. It's old stuff. It's in that other world.
Okay, so then how does that go along with there's not going to be another election? Are you saying the whole election process and stuff is old world? So what's the new one?
I don't know.
There is no president?
I don't know.
There is no government?
The new one is we wake up and we say, oh, we're all in this together. Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I believe what Taryn said. I'm going full force, what Taryn said. I am looking forward to my new body.
Well, that's you. I mean, what about, is everybody going to?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so...
I'm not going to do it alone.
Well, I could dig a new body my own self. But I'm talking, okay.
New bodies all around.
Yeah. I want thicker hair this time. But, okay, so we've all, evolved, gone into this new paradigm. And explain that one to me. What's it gonna be like?
Well, what do you envision? What would you think would be where would you like to be?
Well, I don't want...
In a month's time, where would you like to be?
And no government watching every tiny thing we do. Everybody being able to do their own thing and be able to live. You don't have to have mansions or anything, but comfortably. You don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I've got to pay the utilities this month and all that kind of stuff. My dream is real utopian. Pure water, pure air, pure earth, food in abundance, growing everywhere right outside your door. That sort of thing.
Well, that's what I think is about to happen.
I can dig it.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready right now. Let's do it.
I mean, remember the cat situation where the cat's talking to me? And I had a decision. I could decide I was crazy, or I could decide the cat was talking to me. I could decide that Taryn is crazy. Okay? Mm. Or I could decide, no, for right now, I'm going to say, until I learn different, this sounds like a good idea. I'm going to run with the dude. Not because he's leading me, but because he's running in that direction. And I'm running in that direction.
Because I like the way his mind's working.
Yeah.
And his dreams, his thoughts, his heart.
Yeah.
And if it's all BS, well, hell, it was a great story while we were doing it, and there'll be another story. Because it's all storytelling. That's why when, Walt said to me one day, he says, well, you said blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, well, you might have heard that. Doesn't mean I said it. Because it's his reality. I know I didn't say it. Does that mean he didn't hear it? No. It means he heard it, but it wasn't what I said. But on his reality, he needed me to say that. That's how complicated it gets, but then it's very simple. Decide what you want and just think about it. Just think about it. Think about everything that Colleen just said. Make it so. Your thoughts are that powerful.
Well, you all better be ready to go, because in my world, we're all going.
Me too, Dolly. I'm there with you.
Oh, I muted myself instead of unmuted. Years ago, and I want to say it's probably been 25 years or more, I was either meditating or asleep, and I'm not sure which. But there was this music playing Oh Happy Day.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And bright sunshine, rainbows, beautiful blue sky, trees with multicolored flowers everywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's here. And I'm yelling at the kids, hurry up, you'll miss it, come on. And I'm waiting for one of the kids, who is always late. But we all made it. I mean, it's just this, it was like, I'm going to use a cloud, but it wasn't a cloud. It was more like this light, frequency, that just kind of moves in and changes everything. It's not that you have to prepare for it or anything like that. You have to recognize that it's on its way or that it's happening. But there really isn't anything you have to do except be aware. So I was trying to get the kids, look guys, look. So, and like I said, this was 25 some years ago that I had that dream vision thingy.
But you don't think it's true anymore?
No, I'm not saying I don't think it's true, because I've always pondered what the heck was that all about. But I also had this thing, this vision, and I know it's meditating there, I wasn't asleep. But, and I used to meditate on a candle flame across the room. And out of this candle flame, there was a bird that come up out of it and hung over like the ceiling. And I heard the words, and out of the ashes grew.
Phoenix.
Yeah, I used to go to this spiritualist camp rather often, and the head guy that was there, I'd call him from time to time and say, I had this experience. What can you tell me about it? And he's like, well, Colleen, that was the phoenix.
Ah.
The phoenix grows out of the ashes. It's like a rebirth, a new beginning, and the passing away of the old. And that made a lot of sense, because I was like, what the hell's that all mean? When I had, and I heard, like I said, I heard the words, and from the ashes grew. And that's it. So, I wanted to share that there.
So, see, I hear things like this, and it just reaffirms that we are here because we chose to be here at this particular time, and it's going to be pretty fantastically awesome. But I haven't figured out what that part is. All I know is it's going to be huge. And we're here for that purpose. I wish I knew what it was. Of course, if it's Taryn's thing, holy cow, I'm ready.
Well, I think you're right, Dolly. I think that we all are here for that purpose. And even though a lot of us feel like we're not doing a whole lot, except maybe jacking our jaws and talking about it, that's doing a whole lot, because a lot of people aren't saying nothing, and a lot of people are afraid of it. And
a lot of people aren't even aware of it.
Exactly. And if you try to, talk about it to them, they don't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. As Nancy said, they want to keep their head in the sand, be an ostrich. And I also don't think, a lot of people think that to have change, you've got to have this horrible ending first.
Oh, no.
And I don't think that there has to be a horrible ending. It's just like opening your eyes and waking up from something that may not have been so pleasant.
Right.
I don't think it has to be horrible.
Or you just say, okay, I've had enough of that one. Let's move on to a good one.
Yeah.
Different one.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be awful.
Well, Terrence said when he had that near-death experience, that when he was shown that hyperdimensional cube and the people that he was getting bad vibes from told him to, it had to be stopped. And he realized, no, if I stop this, people are going to die, and he rejected the mission and then ended up in his bed. And later on, when he asked the Sphere Alliance about it, they said, had you tried to and been able to stop this cube, you would have allowed the Nazi timeline to go on forever.
Yeah, I remember him saying
Remember him saying that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, think about it, Dolly. What was it that Walt and I put into operation? It was a reality cube.
And when when Taryn was telling me that, I just wanted to say, oh, you got to talk to Nancy right now.
I oddly did not hear it when he did it live. I picked it up when I was going through the tape.
Oh, man,
and I went, oh my God, how did I miss that? But, of course, he had the near-death experience in what would be considered the past, except we know that time doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So, that's one of the reasons that I have to say that the man has some information that he put on the table that really came together with what we had been doing. It was like, yeah, you guys put that cube there, and he started to talk about it being some construct of reality. And when you have him on again, we need to talk to him about that. What more he knows about it, because it's again, all I'm saying is not that we're changing the world, but we are changing the world, because that's what we're here to do, is to exemplify what is possible by the fact that we will even talk about this stuff.
Yep.
And yes, that's the important thing. Like Colleen says, we're not just slapping our jaws, we're making thought changes energetically in the collective consciousness.
Whoa. Hi, Dave. He just came flying in here. What's the deal? He says, you're damn right you ladies are making a change. And he's very excited that we are sharing this information. He's being very adamant right now. He's not even sitting. He's standing here.
Who is this?
Dave. And,
Dave Corso was the owner of the station. He died 2 years ago.
And he said, next week, 2 years. He says, but it's been a glorious time. You don't have time here. Okay. He's got so much. Okay. Just a minute, Dave. I only have 2 ears. Okay. He says that we're doing a hell of a good job. It's not just affecting the earth. It's also it's going out. It's going out where he is. It's going out in the universe. Our words are being heard far distances. He says that pebble that you've thrown in the water is not just hitting the water. It's in the air. It's everywhere. And the waves just keep going out and out and out and out. And he said these words were needed to be said. And he's really glad that it was his girls who are saying them. And getting other people who have the words that need to be heard into our shows and into Wolf Spirit. And JP's got peoples too, he says. JP's got peoples who need to be heard. They're being heard, and they never would have been heard if it wouldn't have been that we stuck with Wolf Spirit when he left us. You didn't leave us. He says, don't get technical. Okay. And he says, keep it up, and exciting things are coming. When are they coming, Dave? He's not going to tell me.
Yeah, they don't tell us exactly everything, because then that takes away the surprise,
Yeah.
the excitement, the joy of it, that energy that's, exciting and part of being 3D, and, to have that experience in your 3D human body. Yeah.
He's happy with Dave's here. He says hi in it. He says, don't be a smartass. Stop it. So he was listening to us, and he just had to fly in to reaffirm, yes, we are doing what we need to be doing. We're doing what everyone needs us to be doing, and he's very proud of us. And we are not the only ones doing this. He doesn't want us to get big heads. He says this is being done by lots of people around the world, but we are in that circle that is getting the job done. We're getting her done.
Could you ask him if the Sphere Alliance is there?
Dave, you can ask him that. He heard you. He says, yes, it's not like it was portrayed, but it's very close. But he can't tell us what it really is like. But what is being said about it is close enough that we can listen to what they're saying.
Well, yeah, because we're limited by our 3D conceptualization. They have to tell us a story that we can understand. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we have told a story that people can understand. Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
He says he's on his way out. He's waving his hand up in the air. Here, welcome, with his head down. And he's being that real bullish Dave that he can be. I love you, Dave. All right.
Love you, Dave. Thank you. Because without you, we wouldn't have Wolf's spirit.
That's right.
That's the bottom line. Yes, we kept it going, but only because he stayed with us and guided us in many ways.
Kicked us in the butt, and we didn't know it.
Well, I didn't want to say that.
Well, he would.
Yeah. And you all have such nice asses.
Except me. I know.
Okay, he's gone. He went out laughing.
Christia, I know that you're going to get with Emily, hopefully, and be able to come on her show. We tried to hijack you, but we can understand. We can understand it's difficult. So anyway, Emily's coming on next. This is Wolf Spirit Radio. It's being produced by Haggy Shack Radio. It's donations that keep everything going. And if you can't donate the money, then donate your energy and just send us a little heartbeat of love and joy. And you'll be back in a month. Good Lord. Wouldn't that be interesting? Won't next month's show be interesting?
I don't even want a show next month. I want to be in the new place.
Well, I think that they'll have Wolf Spirit Radio.
Yeah.
We may just not need all this dang technology that works sometimes and sometimes not.
We'll all be telepathic.
That's what I was going to say, telepath, and then we could all teleport.
Yeah. It's going to be a much different place we're at. But we're going to be there together, and that's the important thing, in love and awakening.
Yeah.
And so God bless everybody, and by God I mean whoever God is out there. It's because I think it's Source and Kaya, and there's just so many levels, but it's not levels, as Taryn says, it's frequencies. And
yes.
Somebody has to be a creative frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to be a radio producer. And somebody has to be somebody willing to talk from their hearts, and not worry about what falls out, because it always is good. even in some of the bad things, it's been good. We learn, you know. I'm going to hang in here with Emily, Colleen. So did you want to just bring Em in and go from there?
Alrighty, I'm headed out. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. Love y'all.
Thank you both.
Love you, Christia.
Dolly, you sure you don't want to stay?
Oh, I'm so tired.
I had to ask you, hon.
Oh, thank you for asking, but I am really whipped.
It was a great day. Thank you so very much for, helping us out again and sharing your insights and Dave.
Yeah.
And sharing Dave with us.
I still hear him chuckling at a distance.
Yeah.
All right. I love you guys.
I love you too.
Have a good night.
show.
Alrighty, I'm going to put the outro on, and then we'll get into the intro, and I'll bring him in.
Okay. Night, everybody.
You've
Well,
been
I'm
listening
Colleen's going to be here. So
to Say What
I'll be here.
on Haggy Shack Radio at haggyshack.com. Simulcast to Wolf Spirit Radio.